Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Path of Exile Affliction is coming out very soon, and so I thought I would make a video on my top 3 currency / crafting materials farming strategies for the league start build of your choice in solo self-found. These strategies apply to any build. They are pretty universal as they don't have any specific requirements, and they are chosen to be viable for anyone in SSF because that is what I personally play. Without any further ado, and in no particular order, let's get straight into number 3, essence farming. The very first and most important thing you need to know about essences is that unlike other league mechanics, essences do not scale with map tier. Their rewards will be the same when killed in a tier 1 or tier 16 map. This therefore makes essences an extremely strong option for league start currency farming. Now, the next thing you need to be aware of is the mechanic behind corrupting essences using the Remnant of Corruption. This special essence will corrupt other essences that trap monsters, modifying them unpredictably. It will either randomize the essences, upgrade the essences into a higher tier, or just straight up do nothing. And it's really important to know on which essences to use this Remnant of Corruption. There are 4 in particular that you want to be aware of and corrupt whenever you can, because they could potentially yield a very profitable and strong reward. They are as follows. Screaming Essence of Dread may corrupt into an Essence of Delirium. Screaming Essence of Envy may corrupt into an Essence of Horror. Screaming Essence of Misery may corrupt into an Essence of Hysteria. And Screaming Essence of Scorn may corrupt into an Essence of Insanity. Now I will talk about the actual farming strategies that includes how to run essences in your maps and important atlas nodes to take if you wish to do this method. Actually running the maps is very easy and simply consists of using white maps to run through them as fast as possible until you encounter an essence monster, which you then check to see if it needs to be corrupted, if it has any of the 4 essences I mentioned previously, and then activating the monster, killing it and collecting the essence. You repeat this until you've cleared out all the essence monsters in a map, and then you repeat the whole process in another map. It's that simple. As for the atlas nodes, here are important ones that you would want to pick up to maximize the efficiency of this farming strategy. If you would like to see where one of these is on the atlas, simply write the name of the node into the search bar in the atlas itself. Lastly, I'll talk a bit about which maps you want to be running. Although this is mostly preference, you definitely want to run white maps to ensure it's as fast and as easy as it can be, and picking an easy map layout could prove to be beneficial. So look out for maps such as Strand, Atoll, or Jungle Valley. A side note for Atoll map, the essences in that map tend to spawn near the center, making them easy to track down, so basically run the map in a figure 8. Number 2. Blight Farming. Blight is a bit of a tower defense game, and that's why it's great for any build, because you're mostly relying on correct tower placements in chokeholds and selecting the correct type of tower for the enemies that you are facing. Upon completing a blighted map, you'll have a multitude of chests that spawn from the tendrils that the enemies were coming from. They have different types of rewards, but there will always be at least one guaranteed blight chest reward. First of all, blighted maps do scale with map tiers, and in higher tier maps you'll have a chance of encountering a blight boss which will work the same as other blight monsters, following a set path along a tendril, but will be much tougher to kill and reward you with an extra chest at the end. Since the chests at the end of a blight map are random apart from one, the rewards that you will receive will vary, but at the same time, since there are so many chests when you really get into blight, which doesn't take long, you'll have a high chance of receiving something useful to you and your build, whether that's raw currency, gems, items, uniques, oils, divination cards, etc. Another important aspect of Blight is understanding how multipliers work with Blight, and they don't work how you may think they do. Increased item quantity does not directly increase the quantity of loot from Blight chests, and since these are the main source of loot, that means this multiplier isn't a priority whatsoever. It does however affect the generic loot that drops from blighted monsters themselves. Increased item rarity once again does not affect the rewards from blighted chests. similarly to item quantity, therefore it should not be a priority. It does however affect blighted monsters. Lastly, increased pack size multiplies the amount of monsters that spawn from each tendril, increasing the amount of loot you can expect from blight monsters, but does not affect chests. Scarabs are a great way to guarantee a blighted map, and there are 4 different types of blight related scarabs, each with progressively increased profitability and difficulty. So watch out to not get overconfident, because some of the more rare scarabs can really prove to be a challenge to complete. Here is an image explaining the 4 types of scarabs. Feel free to pause and read through them if you're not already familiar with it. As for the Atlas nodes, here are important ones that you would want to pick up to maximise the efficiency of this farming strategy. Lastly, I'll talk about the maps that I recommend running to do blight, and my personal choice of towers for most cases. As for the towers, I usually stick to just a few trusted ones that I know work most of the time, although tower choices are really dependent on the current league, map, build, and most importantly, what resistance the monsters themselves have. However, the towers that I am about to recommend work for a lot of these scenarios, and that's why I use them. First off, we have Chilling Tower, level 3, or a Freeze Bolt Tower. The difference is that the Chilling Tower slows enemies, affects more targets, and deals moderate damage, whereas the Freeze Bolt Tower shoots a piercing projectile which freezes enemies and deals high damage. The choice between the two lies on how much resources you currently have to spend and what the map layout is. Usually, if I can afford it, I would go for the upgraded version, the Freeze Bolt Tower, but if the map is quite open, then affecting more enemies with a Chilling Tower could prove to be more useful. I like to pair these towers with a Seismic Tower level 3 for maximum crowd control. Seismic towers deal low damage but always stun enemies, and they repeat multiple times, where at level 3 of the tower they will slam the ground 7 times in a row, stunning enemies each time. Pairing both of these towers works great for choke points, and that is their main objective. Next up, for some damage, I recommend going with the Meteor Tower, which, as the name suggests, rains fiery meteors from the sky, and I believe is one of the best, if not the #1 best damaging tower for monsters, so I would put a few of these down, spreading them around to cover as much area as possible. I like to pair the Scout Tower with this, as it not only deals high amounts of damage, but also works as a distraction for the enemies, holding them off for a bit longer. The Scout Tower spawns 10 flying minions that simply go and fight the blighted monsters that are heading towards you. Lastly, a very important tower that you want to be placing all across your run is the Empowering Tower level 3, as it improves the effectiveness of other towers nearby. So you want to be placing this tower strategically to improve as many towers as you can, and I would personally suggest to prioritize improving your crowd control towers first to really secure those choke points, and then if you have enough resources, improving your damage in towers. 100% the most important thing to remember though is that each one of these towers will be ineffective against blighted monsters of the same type. Each blighted map you run is going to have monsters that are resistant to some of the elements of your towers, so you want to make sure you carefully read what monsters are resistant to before starting the map and planning ahead so that you don't miserably fail. If you can see that the monsters are resistant to chill/frost, then do not put down those chilling or freezing towers, as you are simply wasting your time. Now, to quickly finish off this section with what maps I recommend, well, I would say to try and go for the maps that have an enclosed layout, as they will have more choke points for you to shut down and control, compared to open maps that you have to be more careful with. Enclosed maps also mean less tendrils, which means less chests, but also means more chance for blight chest rewards. Some maps I recommend are Core Map, Toxic Sewer Map, and Waste Pool Map. Number 3. Heist. I will be talking about Heist, assuming that you already know the basics behind this whole mechanic, because there is a lot of sub-mechanics within it, and there's so much to talk about in fact, that I could most definitely dedicate an entire video just talking and explaining all the nuances behind Heist, but that's not what this video is about. I'll just be talking about the most important aspects of Heist when it comes to League Start. First of all, Heist drops an absurd amount of raw currency, which straight off the bat is a big positive on a league start. Not to mention the fact that through Heist you can get 5 link very early on, and maybe even a 6 link, and some other useful equipment such as talismans or uniques. Heist can also be comfortably run before even finishing the campaign, as a replacement to, for example, grinding blood aqueducts. If you're looking to get into Heist early on in the league, then you should just focus on leveling up and gearing the rogues that accompany you in the contracts, and just doing as many contracts and blueprints as you can. This way, you are going to be gathering a large amount of raw currency, divination cards and uniques, and by the time you're past league start, you'll have a solid foundation for Heist and will be able to run some more advanced methods for some rare and expensive uniques, other items and raw divine orbs. You need to look at Heist as more of a long-term investment, because you really need to level up and gear the rogues and have a decent understanding of how heists, grand heists, blueprints and contracts work to really maximize your profits throughout. With that being said though, your efforts will be greatly rewarded, as a lot of people simply don't want to go through all that, and therefore so-called heisters, people that run Heist a lot, are actually in demand for things that are only available in Heist. That doesn't mean that Heist is not profitable early on, as it definitely is. Even though you don't have a very specific farming method or goal, it's still worth running with the benefits I've just mentioned. Heist will always be more efficient with a fast movement speed character, so I even more so recommend Heist if you're running a fast league start build, and if you want to know which contracts are the most expensive and what to look out for in particular, then it would be deception contracts, because they make it so that once you trigger the final alarm and have to escape, all the doors on the way back will be open for you, so you can just blitz to the exit instead of opening like 3 or 4 doors and fighting waves of monsters and potentially risking death. As for Atlas nodes, here are important ones that you would want to pick up to maximize the efficiency of Heist. That then is my list of what I recommend doing as a strategy for League Start, and it is personally what I'll be doing regardless of what build I choose. I have run these choices many times before, and let me tell you, they do not disappoint if you put the time in. But as always, remember to choose whatever you find the most fun, as at the end of the day, what matters most is not efficiency or wealth, but simply joy. Thank you so much for watching this video, I really appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful evening, night or day, and I will see you around.